Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And this week I am finally fulfilling my promise of reviewing my library books. I didn't. I did a library haul a few weeks ago and I said I was going to vlog my library haul. And look, life happened and I ended up reading one of the books and vlogging it, The Bennett Women. Loved it. It was my book of February. Favorite book of February, so highly recommend. And I also read The Bling Ring. I enjoyed it. It was what it was, but it also definitely had some faults and you could very much tell there was a bias with the author. Definitely felt to be a lot of victim blaming, which is terrible, and I feel like I didn't get a lot more from the book than I did from the tabloids at the time. So that leaves me with 2 library books left. But I've been to the library since last we spoke, so I actually do have 4 library books to read in this vlog. This is my plan for the week. I'm hopeful I can get through 4 books in a week, but we shall try. So let's chat about the books I'm hoping to get through. I have got Daisy on the Outer Line by Ross Sayers. This is It's a novel in Scots language, which I'm ridiculously excited about. It is about Daisy, who finds herself travelling through time on the Glasgow subway system, which sounds, I'm in. That sounds like a great concept for a book. And she is thrown back in time on the day of her stepfather's funeral, and she is tasked with saving a life. So is it his life she has to save? We don't know, but I'm very excited about this. So many of my friends have read this and loved it. 5 stars galore. So I am very excited to read this for myself. I have Warcross by Marie Lu. This was on my original library TBR. This book is about a young woman who is a hacker. This means hacker. And she hacks her way into Warcross, which is like the big gaming system, and she finds herself being offered an opportunity by the creator of Warcross, and things seem to happen. Revelations are revealed. Again, from my original library TBR, I have Africa Risen. This is an anthology. It's a chunky book. I've already started it. I'm a third of the way in. It's an anthology of 32 short stories written by authors from either Africa or the African diaspora. So I'm very excited to find some new authors I want to try. I'm 9 stories in and I've already found 2 authors that I'm like, I need to read everything that they have written, ever. And I have #Panic by Luke Jennings, who I believe wrote Killing Eve, which, would you believe, I've never read or seen, but I've heard it's good. My friend Hayley got this book the same time I got this book from the library, and we tend to have very similar reading tastes, so I'm hopeful. I don't know if she's not finished it yet, so I don't know. I can't predict if I'm going to love it or not, but I'm intrigued. This is a thriller which surrounds a group of friends who are super fans of a TV series, and they are off to like rescue the star of this series. And things start to grow arms and legs, and it's just, I'm hoping I'm gonna get some female friendship, be it toxic, be it wholesome. Kind of in the mood for chaos right now. So I'm very excited about this, and I'm excited about all 4 of my books. So these are the books I'm planning to be reading in this vlog. Let me know if you've read any of them and how you've gotten on. But so far I have juggling them. So far I've only made a start on Africa Risen. I've read 9 stories so far, and these are all sci-fi and fantasy short stories, and that's such a broad specification for the short story collection that it doesn't feel repetitive or that there's been too many similarities. I don't really think there's been any real similarities from the stories so far, but I decided to stop after reading the first page worth of stories. So my favourites so far are March Magic by W.C. Dunlap and Mammy Waterworks by Russell Nichols. Loved both of those stories so much. They were definitely, I'm just sort of rating each story individually because I think how else can I rate a collection? And then at the end I'll go purely on vibes. But for now, those two are solid 5-star stories for me. I'm having a really good time with this collection and I'm excited to read the rest of them. Very much looking forward to it. I will bring you along with me while I read these books and let you know how I get on with them. Yay, I'm excited! I have a confession. I started reading Daisy on the Outer Line by Ross Sayers, and my plan was when I was at 50%, I was going to come give you an update. I finished the book. I started it last night, instantly fell in love with it, finished it this morning. Amongst a flood of tears, I loved this book. I got this book from the children's section of my library. This is not a children's book. Like, it's cute, it looks cute, and the main character's 20, he's very young, but it's not a children's book. There is a lot of adult topics in the book, so it's definitely, I'll need to let the library know. Not the children's section, but my library doesn't have a YA section. It's literally just all the children's books are all in together because it's quite a small library. So this book is about Daisy. Daisy's not okay. Daisy's not okay. She's not in a good place. She is seeing a therapist. She just seems, she seems depressed. She seems lost. She seems just in need of companionship, and she's lonely, and she drinks a lot. But I can't judge. I partied a lot when I was 20 as well. I do not party at all now. So we sort of start with our introduction to Daisy, and she's kind of having a rant at her therapist, and she makes a decision, and I don't get this decision, where she, instead of going to her stepdad's funeral, she goes on a Tinder date. And I'm like, yep, you know, find romance, but also, even if you're not close to your stepdad, you were close to your mom. You are close to your mom. Be there for her. So she doesn't, but she does go to the wake with her Tinder date and causes a scene. An uncomfortable scene. It's really horrible and and just really uncomfortable to read, because you can just imagine the emotions of everybody who's there. And then this drunken woman stands up to make a not the best kind of speech at his send-off, and she then goes out with her colleagues. They've got a Christmas party and they get absolutely trashed, like absolutely wasted, so drunk. And you can kind of tell that her friends are a little bit uncomfortable with the scenes that Daisy's making. She's drank far too much, needs to go home, but she wants to stay out and party. And it's just, I felt embarrassed for her and at the same time sympathetic towards her, because I mean, there's a reason that she's acting the way that she is. She's definitely not okay. And she decides that she's going to get the subway home instead of go with her friend to get a taxi from the taxi rank, which, scarred for life from that taxi rank. I've been there on a Saturday night at Christmas. It's chaos. There were times I'd taken a very not safe walk home to avoid that taxi rank. It is horrific. So I kind of get why she's like, I'm not getting a taxi. So she goes to the subway and she's missed it. She's missed the last subway. But then this very unusual woman called Yota comes out and is like, nah, there's another one. There's always a last subway train. And she gets on this subway train after a very strange interaction with Yota and falls asleep because she's blue-tired. She's absolutely off her face. She's been drinking all of these horrific sounding cocktails, and she wakes up and she's gone back in time. And not only has she gone back in time, she has a different face. Like she's kind of similar to how she looked, but she is in a different body, and Daisy is still around. Daisy's still living her life. So we really get this very interesting story of having Daisy then renames herself as Rose. We have Rose going around and sort of seeing herself, Daisy, through an outside eye, and kind of seeing how her life could be different if she did this, that, and that. And it was really interesting having her sort of get that like growth, that sort of having that moment click by actually seeing her own actions and having her see the way people react to the situations that she gets into, because Rose goes and witnesses all of these. We also get to see Rose form a friendship, develop a friendship with her stepdad, Daisy's stepdad. And he doesn't know that that's Daisy in a different face, because why would you? And it was like healing. It was so like heartwarming to have this person go on this massive literal journey back through time and grow and realize how they can make a difference in the world and how they can help people and heal themselves. And it was just wonderful. There were twists and turns that I did not see coming. There were people that I was like, can we even trust? Who do we trust here? Because there's time travel, and when you say you've done time travel, that makes you sound like you're not in a good place, because, you know, I loved it. I also, I feel like I got a little bit extra from this book because it featured so many places that I knew and I had been. And like there were bars that she was going to that I was like, oh, 2010, that was my place. It was just really interesting for me being able to like reminisce and feel nostalgic. This book wasn't set like in the past. It was set like 2017, which I appreciate is in the past, but it's not like historical or anything. But the book came out in 2020. So it wasn't written with the intent of being nostalgic to people who had lived in Glasgow. Like, I haven't lived in Glasgow for a really long time, but it made me so nostalgic. And I just loved Daisy, faults and all. I just wanted to give her a hug. I think she would have pushed me away, but you don't hug people unless they want a hug. They tell you they want a hug. But I would have hugged her if she'd asked. I understand why so many of my friends have given this 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars as well. I absolutely loved it. It warmed my heart. I sobbed hysterically during the last 30 pages because I thought the book was going in one direction. And I was like, well, why did it not do that? Why did it not give me like the beautiful, lovely thing that I wanted to happen? And it gave me something else. And I was like, no, my emotions. This book was amazing. It is written in Scots language, which I think is easy to read, but I'm Scottish, so of course I find it easy to read. So if you're not Scottish or like live in Scotland, there might be parts of this that are a little tricky to read, but don't let that hold you back. I would say, it's definitely worth a shot. It was just so nice to read another book in Scots language that was just heartwarming and lovely and just exciting. I really enjoyed it. I want to go and read all the other books by Ross Sayers. I know he's got a whole bunch of other books and I will be finding them, but this is my first 5-star of March and I'm giddy with excitement. It's really nice when you find your first 5-star of the month. I feel like I can just relax being like, oh, I've got one. I know I've got one book that, could be the golden child that carries me through. I think the next book I'm going to read, I am reading Africa Risen. That's going to be my book that carries across the whole week. I'm going to start Warcross next by Marie Lu. I'm intrigued, but I'm also really nervous about this. And the reviews are very hit or miss. So I don't know, I'm so nervous. I'll come back. I'll let you know how I get on with it when I am halfway through it. Reading update time. I said I would report back when I was 50% into Warcross, but I've DNF'd this book. I got to page 90, which is over a quarter of the way through, and I just sort of thought, I don't care how this book goes. I don't think that's a problem with the book. I'm not the target audience. This is a YA book, so the fact that it doesn't appeal to me, it's not supposed to. It's not supposed to. If I read a YA book, that is the risk I take as an old adult going in and reading young adult books. Wasn't written with me in mind. This book, so far, I had read about who was your very classic protagonist of orphan, impoverished, gonna get evicted, really needs money, down on her luck, but she's got a secret talent where she's amazing at computer, coding and stuff, hacking, and she hacks her way into like the big Warhammer? It's not Warhammer. I enjoy Warhammer. I'd be interested if how would you hack yourself into Warhammer? That's a different thing. She hacks her way into Warcross and she is spotted and she's found, and then she's whisked away to Tokyo to work to get a special mission from the creator of Warcross. I didn't warm to as a character. I know that we were shown a lot of things, like we were told a lot of things, like while she didn't seem very likable as a person, she had a very good heart, but she also very much gave me and this is the reason I DNF'd this book. Actually, the real reason is that the main character gave me not like other girls vibes. She had rainbow hair, which seemed to be her personality trait, and I'm like, loads of people have brightly colored hair, but they also have a personality. and maybe like that's quite harsh, and she will develop a personality as the book goes on, but I wasn't interested enough to continue to find that out. I don't really like when there's a main character who's not like other girls, because I like other girls. They're great. Some of them aren't, but like that's people. People are sometimes great, people are sometimes not. But it just kind of gave me that little element of, I don't think I'm going to like this book. And I thought, I've had a bunch of disappointing reads this year so far that I need to get better at DNFing books that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. So I'm sorry if you like this book. I'm genuinely happy for you, because I like when people like books, and I feel really bad not liking a book, but this just wasn't for me. So I'm DNFing Warcross and I feel really bad about it. But you know, here we are. I have no update to give on Africa Risen so far because I haven't picked it up yet. I was busy reading this and doing various housework things. Such an exciting life I lead. I've done so much laundry. And I'm about to make soup. Wild. It's absolutely wild and chaotic in my house right now. It's gonna be delicious soup. I'm very excited about it. The next book I'm going to be focusing on is going to be #panic. So I'll come back and give an update on that one when I've started it, and hopefully I will have reached an update point for Africa Risen as well. But I'm sorry. Progress has been made, and it is surprisingly dark right now. It's 5, but it's overcast today, so we're going with it. We're going with the lack of light, because this is the northeast of Scotland and it's not famed for its light. Anyway, I have finished reading Africa Risen and I had a good time with this book. I feel like my rating for this doesn't really show how much enjoyment I got from this book, because I feel like the fairest way to rate a collection of short stories is to rate every story and then take an average. That felt like the fairest way for me. And there were some stories in here that I didn't like, or really didn't like, to the point that I thought, do I skim read them? Do I skip them? But no, I continued and I read them. But there were some stories I just did not care for. But then there were other stories that I just loved. And just the way that the maths worked out, it ended up getting 2 stars, which doesn't feel right. Although I didn't have as many sort of 5-star stories that I loved in the last 2/3 of this book as I did in the first. In fact, I only had 2 stories that I loved, but oh, I loved them. So the 2 stories that I felt really stood out for me were The Carving of War by Somto Heizu Nyedikachi, which was a really good, like, it was fantasy with like family lore, family secrets, and like drama, and it just left me wanting more. There also seemed to be, which is surprising for a short story, a really good amount of world building in like just a teeny tiny story. And the other story that just, I now need to read everything this author has written, was The Lady of the Yellow Painted Library by Toby Oghenechovwe. And this story was what I look for. It was weird. Of course, it featured a library, but it was all about a man who had borrowed a book and lost the book. And he was a traveling salesman. And I just feel like it packed so much into it, but it just left me being like, I need like a whole series set in this world. I wanted so much more. But I mean, the story was finished. Like, I was fulfilled, but I'm greedy, and it was so good. I wanted so much more. I'm so sorry. I have a cough that, of course I have a cough. I always have a cough, but it's really bad today, and I don't know why, apart from the fact that I ate some cheese, and cheese makes my throat close up. So it's probably because I ate some cheese. But it was delicious. So please do not take my, what I feel is quite a low rating, don't take that as a slight of this book. There were some wonderful stories in here. I got a whole gaggle of new authors that I need to go and check out, and I had a really good time with that, and I'm delighted that I was able to get this at my library. I also have an update for my last remaining library loan, which was #Panic by Luke Jennings. So I had said that I kind of forgot what this book was about between me placing my reservation on it and me picking it up, and that is entirely true. This story is about 4 friends who are like in a fandom for this TV program, and they're really into the main characters, and they are called Pandora and Lyric, so together they are Panic, and they're shipping them. So these young people are super fans, and they are just like very much obsessed with the show, but they're also facing a whole lot of like really tough issues. We've got a character who's facing addiction, two characters really who are facing transphobia, and a character who's facing homophobia, toxic masculinity from the cadet academy that they are in Russia. And these 4 people just form this really nice bond, and they're very supportive, and I really enjoy their friendship. We also have Alice, who is the main character of, what is the TV program even called? City of Night. In my mind, I want to call it City of Shadows, but that's a different thing. So our main character in City of Shadows is in an abusive marriage, and I didn't know that going into the book. I just knew that she was wanting to escape from something. And there is also like a really quite terrifying yet somewhat realistic vigilante group that are marching across various countries, and they basically just are against everything. They're against everything. They're just so full of hate, and they're kind of the constant threat that there seems to be in this world. I have DNF'd this book, which feels like a really horrible way to end a vlog. I made it to page 80 in this book, so I've still had 300 pages left. But I am trying really hard to, when you know that you're not gonna enjoy a book, you know, you feel it in your bones. And I felt in my bones that I knew I wasn't enjoying the way this book was going. Like I said, one of the main characters was facing domestic violence, and I don't want to read about that in fiction, so I'm not going to. I'm DNFing it, and I feel like I'm kind of proud of myself because I really struggle with letting go of a book, and I feel had I bought this with my own money, I would have forced myself to finish it because I would feel like I was wasting money. But I borrowed it from the library, and the library, they don't care if I read it. They don't know if I read it. All they know is I took it. They don't even know I took it home. They just know I took it away and I'm going to bring it back. So I feel that's a really good thing about having these library books, is that I can take a chance, and if it doesn't pay off, I haven't lost out on anything other than time. But because I'm trying to be a little bit stricter with myself and knowing when to bid farewell to a book, hopefully I won't be spending too much time on things that I don't enjoy. So I didn't make my way fully through, I can't even hold books right now, through my 4 books. I did end up DNFing, I don't even know how I'm holding things right now. I did DNF #panic. I haven't read Killing Eve. I know Killing Eve was very popular as a TV program, and I don't know if the book is any good, but this is by the same person who wrote that. I DNF'd Warcross by Mary Lou. I feel I'm not the target audience for this, but I think that one of my stepkids would absolutely love this if I could get them to read it, but she doesn't want to, and I'm not going to force her, but I think she would love this. And I did finish these 2 books. Africa Risen had some really amazing short stories by authors who I need to go and not stalk, like, you know, casually look up everything they've ever written, and in a loving and supportive way, not a creepy way. But yeah, I've got some new authors I want to find and enjoy more from. But my standout has to be Daisy on the Outer Line. I love this book so much. As it stands right now, this is still the contender for my book of the month, I think. What have I even read this month? I should not film things when I've just finished work because my brain feels a little bit all over the place. I love this book. If you take anything from me from this video, it is, well, 2 things. 1, if your throat swells up when you eat cheese or dairy products, don't eat them. They're delicious, but you will be sad. And Daisy on the Outer Line is a fantastic book. You will need tissues because it will make you cry, or it just made me cry. I cry at everything anyway. This book was magical and I really enjoyed it. I will be returning these books back to the library soon, and I know I have another book that's not yet available, but it's going to be available soon, so I'm probably going to delay returning them. They're still within their time, and I'll take them back when I can do a little switcheroo and pick up my next book. Let me know if you've read any of these books and if you like using your library as well. Thank you so much for watching.